In a ruling handed down by UK's High Court yesterday, Prince Harry lost his case arguing for police protection when he is back in his home country. He plans to appeal the decision, with a legal spokesperson for the Duke of Sussex saying the Duke's case is that the so-called bespoke process that applies to him is no substitute for that risk analysis. Buried in the 51-page ruling, which you can read here, were details of Harry and Meghan Markle's visit to NYC in May 2023, wherein the New York Police Department said they were, in fact, dangerously chased by paparazzi. But also of note in the document are details surrounding all of Prince Harry's trips to the UK since he and Meghan relocated to California, including their trip in September 2022, which was initially to visit with several charities close to their hearts, but turned into a much longer stay following the death of Queen Elizabeth. The ruling reveals that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex hoped to bring their 2 children, Archie and Lili, along with them for the trip, but the decisions RAVEC made prevented them in doing so. RAVEC stands for the Royal and VIP Executive Committee and coordinates security between the royal household, the Metropolitan Police, and the Home Office. On page 24, the document reads, "The Home Office had been notified on the 3rd of August 2022 that the claimant and his wife and children would be visiting the United Kingdom between 2 and the 11th of September 2022. The itinerary did not redacted text. On the 10th of August 2022, RAVEC met to decide what protective security, if any, should be provided. A letter outlining RAVEC's decision was sent to the private secretary to the sovereign, since the request for protective security had come through the royal household. The letter of the 12th of August was from the chair of RAVEC to Sir Edward Young. It explained that blank. In response, Prince Harry and Meghan's team wrote to say that the proposed security arrangements for the September visit were not lawful and that redacted text was plainly inadequate. Reading between the lines, the security was not adequate enough for the Sussexes to bring their children, which ultimately meant they traveled to the UK sons Archie and Lili. This goes back to Prince Harry's original case to review his police protection, wherein his spokesperson said, "The Duke and Duchess of Sussex personally fund a private security team for their family, yet that security cannot replicate the necessary police protection needed whilst in the UK. In the absence of such protection, Prince Harry and his family are unable to return to his home." Since moving to California, Meghan and Harry have only brought their kids to the UK once, in June 2022 for Queen Elizabeth's Platinum Jubilee. During that visit, they celebrated Lili's first birthday at Frogmore Cottage in Windsor. This trip is not referred to in the document. In the nearly 4 years since Prince Harry and Meghan Markle left their roles as senior royals, few issues have spawned as much controversy, debate, and legal argumentation as their security arrangements now that they no longer qualify for the same Metropolitan Police protection Harry had enjoyed since his birth. This week, there were developments in 2 separate court cases about the security issues, including a court hearing over his security status during visits to the UK. Then, on Friday, Harry was dealt a legal setback in a libel case with Associated Newspapers, the parent company of the Mail, on Sunday, over a February 2022 article about his legal battle for security. Though High Court Justice Matthew Nicklin denied the Prince's legal team summary judgment in the case against Associated Newspapers, The court's 37-page decision shares new details about the behind-the-scenes struggle over security costs in the wake of his exit from royal duties. The decision quotes a January 2020 letter from Queen Elizabeth II's private secretary, Sir Edward Young, to then Cabinet Secretary Sir Mark Sedwill, which claims the late Queen took a special interest in ensuring that the couple had access to security after leaving their royal duties behind. The case is expected to go to trial next year. You will understand well that ensuring that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex remain safe is of paramount importance to Her Majesty and her family, Young wrote. Given the Duke's public profile by virtue of being born into the royal family, his military service, the Duchess's own independent profile, and the well-documented history of targeting of the Sussex family by extremists, it is imperative that the family continues to be provided with effective security. The letter went on to state that the palace had held conversations with the former head of the Executive Committee for the Protection of Royalty and Public Figures, RAVEC, the governmental body that decides who may receive access to publicly funded advanced security in the UK, though security was a main concern of Harry's when he and Meghan announced their intention to leave their roles as working royals in January 2020. They were later stripped of publicly funded protection officers after their provision became a controversy in Canada and the US. Even then, President Donald Trump weighed in at the time. Though Meghan and Harry have been funding their own security since their move to the United States in March 2020, their access to security during visits to the UK has been a matter of concern and ongoing legal wrangling. Their private security guards are prohibited from carrying weapons in Harry's home country, and earlier this year, the High Court denied Harry the opportunity to pay for the increased costs of Metropolitan Police officers who are licensed to carry weapons in the UK. When that denial was issued, Harry was given the opportunity to challenge RAVEC's original decision to strip Meghan and Harry of security in the UK, which was the subject of the London hearing that began on December 5th. During the hearing, Harry's lawyer, Shahid Fatima, argued that the security decision was unfair and disputed the Home Office's characterization of his royal exit as a choice. In a statement read into evidence on Thursday, the prince explained why the ongoing fight about security was so important to him and his family, including his son Archie and daughter Lilibet. It was with great sadness for both of us that my wife and I felt forced to step back from this role and leave the country in 2020, he said, per the BBC. The UK is my home. The UK is central to the heritage of my children and a place I want them to feel at home as much as where they live at the moment in the US. That cannot happen if it's not possible to keep them safe when they are on UK soil. I cannot put my wife in danger like that, and given my experiences in life, I am reluctant to unnecessarily put myself in harm's way too.